We started this business back in 1988. Prior to that, I had one failed attempt at entrepreneurship, which is not so much talked about because people talk about what you see as successes and not what is the failure behind it. So before we started Luminous, we had started a power electronics company by the name of Oak Power Systems, which developed UPS, which is now known as offline or line interactive UPS, back in 1986-87. This was 3 years out of engineering school for me at that point in time, and we had the audacity of trying to do something that hadn't been done before in Asia. And we started to work on building this little product ahead of its time. It got developed, and since it was ahead of its time and had a strong value proposition, and there was a very, very good need out there in the market, it took off like a rocket after we developed the product. And so in the first few months of having launched the product, we got customers all across the country. The corporates of that time, Modi Xerox and Indian Oil and all of those. And, it was almost a fairy tale story, and we made revenues in 1986 of some 60 lakh rupees in the very first year of starting that business. What happened next was something that taught us a lesson of our lifetime, which was that the product started to fail after we sold them. And they were developed, they were good, they worked, but they weren't good enough to last at the customer premises. So the next 2 years we spent in winding up the mess. We gave service to customers across the country till we almost became broke. And of my savings of mine and my father's savings of some 12 lakh rupees, we had blown up everything except the last 40,000 rupees by the time we decided enough is enough. Now we have to start again. So this was behind Luminous, and the lesson that we learned out of that was that don't go to the market underprepared. And it has stayed with us forever after that, and it worked good. And I think I'm grateful to the fact that I failed early, because after that we tried some big initiatives, and we'll talk a few of them, which if this kind of a thing had happened then, we wouldn't have been able to start again. So it was interesting to have had that experience early enough, and a near-death experience from an entrepreneurship standpoint. My father was actually a civil servant. He was an IS officer. He retired in long time back, 1993. So when I started my first company, he was still in service, and he was upset with me enough not to talk to me for probably about a week or two when I decided to quit my job, because in those days, entrepreneurship was not probably as fashionable as it is today, and it wasn't really appreciated. I mean, you were seen as somebody who couldn't do anything else and therefore did this. So we got back, and I had to make my second attempt, and everybody that I knew told me that, haven't you learned your lesson? Why don't you want to quit now and stop? So anyway, I am glad that we didn't listen to all those advices, and we got back at doing it again. And then, of course, it was reasonably successful because we were very cautious. As you know, हमारे हिंदी में कहावत है ना, दूध का जला छाछ भी फूक फूक के पीता है. So वही होना शुरू हो गया वहाँ पे. We got very, very cautious, and then from 88 till 2006, almost 18 years, we didn't borrow enough. We didn't raise any capital. We were cautious to the point of being obnoxiously cautious. We just did not grow as fast as the opportunity presented itself to us. But we built a very, very strong foundation. It was a nice company with a lot of good people who had stayed along a long time, good relationships, good brand, good partnerships, good products. Everything was good, but we weren't really growing well enough. I saw in the list of speakers another company of our own business, who spoke this morning. So they were at that point in time a market leader, about 2.5x our size, which we were at that point in time, had raised capital before us, were more capitalized, had more money, and we were also about to set on a journey to compete with somebody as mighty as Exide, who were at that point in time selling batteries to us, and we had just taken a decision that we will make our own batteries and that we won't buy them from Exide and we'll build them ourselves, make a competition to Exide and build ourselves into being a total power solutions company from being just a power electronics company. So that transition was just about being made. We had to, in that year, take the plunge or the leap of faith, if you like, because on a net worth at that time of some 6-7 crores that we had built, on a turnover of about 100 odd crores that we had reached, we decided to invest in manufacturing batteries and to invest 57 crores in capital cost in one single year when our balance sheet stood at 6 crores net worth. And you know, the interesting part is that we didn't do this with equity. We did this with debt even then. We went to bankers and talked to them and convinced them to lend us money, which is an interesting insight I want to share with you, that even back in 2005 and 2006, there were public sector bankers in this country who were willing to back entrepreneurs that they had seen functioning with them for a while with something like a 6-7 times gearing ratio on their net worth. So we were funded entirely by one single bank called Corporation Bank, and Mr. Malia, who retired recently as the chairman of Bank of Baroda, was then the general manager credit in the bank. And we didn't have enough collateral at that point in time to back up this kind of borrowing. So he actually took our brand, that is the Luminous brand, as a pledge and as a security to lend money to us for building a battery plant. So it was a leap of faith at one point in time. So from ultra-conservatism to some complete reckless leap of faith, or so some would think, we took both those extremes in that one period and got ourselves started in the battery business. And I think that was probably the best move that we made in terms of making our business scale up, because from 100 crores in 2006, we were able to get to 2,000 crores probably this year, I think, give or take 30, 40, 50 crores here or there. So we've been able to grow the business 20x in a span of just 7 years because of a couple of right moves at the right time. We then got the first infusion of private equity, which was from CLSA Capital Partners in 2007. In 2008, then we started another venture called Luminous Tele-Infra, which got into energy management solutions for telecom and other data center applications. Got funded a little bit to bridge the equity gap by IFCI Ventures, who invested in that year with us. And then in 2009, we bought them back ourselves because we thought that that equity was worth more than what we had given it away for. They made good money. Then we merged the two of them together, the Luminous Tele-Infra and the Luminous business, and it became a much more scaled player with power electronics, energy management, and batteries business. And then we added in 2010 a home electricals vertical to this business, leveraging the brand and channels. So now, as you see, Luminous is getting active and pretty strong in certain areas like wires, fans, MCBs, and stuff of that nature. So today, it's a full home electricals, home electronics, power electronics kind of a solutions company with a face that is also towards the institutional or energy management area. What happened on the way, a couple of things more. We had an adventure in China. In 2008, we set up a ground-up manufacturing facility out of Shenzhen in China, which was 100% owned by us with Chinese management. did well for us, and we used that as a base to grow into exports and covered about 27, 28 countries at last count where we sell the Luminous brand, which was also part of the Luminous, total overall structure. Having done all this, Navneet and I, Navneet is my co-founder and partner at Luminous, and both of us come from engineering background. Both of us come from families that are from working background, professional background. So we both worked together through this whole journey, and we kind of took a call at that point in time that this has now become a big enough company. It's getting to $400 odd million in size. It's well on its way to scale. Time to do something different. And so we decided that we want to sort of exit. We were actually on the way to filing our IPO prospectus, and Kotak was working on drafting our red herring prospectus when we decided to actually sell. So it wasn't a planned move. It just happened because somewhere inside us we were looking to do something more than just run a already successful venture. So that kind of drove us to look at an exit, but we loved the company enough to keep 26%. So we sold 74% of the business to Schneider. We did not sell all of it. We continue to hold a minority 26% equity and still manage at least the board level activity. So I still continue as the chairman. Navneet is also on the board, and we help Schneider a little bit in helping them kind of transition the business or grow it further. And it's been doing very well. It's still growing at about 35-40% year on year. And I think it has got a lot of steam left still. So we are continuing inside the business, though as a minority shareholder. And why we did all this was because we thought that we wanted to start a few more of such ventures where there is a bigger leverage of entrepreneurship available on the capital that you deploy. So after having gotten out of there, we've started a few more companies, about 4 or 5 of them in the last 1 year, which are in different verticals. We can talk about that later. And we have started this little fund called Incubate Capital Partners, which is which has a single line investment philosophy. So if an entrepreneur needs us without our money, we are willing to put some money in it. So that's our philosophy. We therefore work on operating leverage more than capital. Happy to talk to anyone who needs that kind of help at any time. We have made a few investments out of this fund, 2 of them already, in about a year's time, and looking to do more. So that's kind of the journey. To conclude, what I want to bring out as pointers, I think look at opportunity as clearly as you can, and if you see some, then go for it. I don't think there is ever a better time than the first time, and if you go for it, you will probably find the resources. Thank you.